Hi everyone, welcome to the Novel Nomad and welcome to my book lover's guide to Vancouver Island. Now in Vancouver Island we're starting with the capital city of BC in Victoria. Now I think of Victoria as the home of books, and of course you can't really start in the home of books without starting in Munro's books. Now Munro's is established in 1960s, I believe 1964, but they didn't move into this absolutely beautiful heritage old bank that was built in 1909 until the 80s. And they it's just one of the most beautiful bookstores you can just find yourself in Canada. It has this beautiful vaulted ceiling that reminds you so much of like the grand libraries. They have all these amazing tapestries on the wall that is actually hand sewn by Jim Munro's, the proprietor, by his second wife. And they just had this absolutely huge range of books to choose from multiple genres. I was initially just hanging out in the Canadian literature section, but of course they have fiction, they have sci-fi, they have nature, writing, everything that you could possibly imagine, an adorable kids section at the back. You just have to explore Munro's books. So as you can see, Munro's Books is just an absolutely stunning bookstore. Definitely have it on the top of your list when you're in Victoria or just visiting Vancouver Island. It is so worth it. It's located in Government Street downtown and it's perfect for a day of shopping. But moving on to another wonderful institution in Victoria is Russell's Books. And this is a mammoth store. It contains huge number of secondhand books. So if you think as Munro's is the mecca and a beautiful new bookstore, think of Russell's as the mecca of secondhand books. There is literally 3 sections to this bookstore, and thankfully they now have a handy guide. The ground floor, which is more of the non-fiction such as art, gardening, philosophy, all those wonderful things, are on the downstairs and the ground floor. And obviously, as you can see, it is packed to the rafters with books, and of course they're all in pretty amazing condition. This store is really bustling, so I do say check your time, because obviously people in Victoria love their books, but there's such a range to choose from. It is absolutely crazy. I still get overwhelmed every time I walk into this bookstore, and I feel like you need to go in there with a mission, with something that you're looking for in particular. But let's head up to the fiction section, which obviously is one of my fortes, and it is once again a mecca of books. You can't quite escape how overwhelmed you feel, because you have this like little interim area where you can come up and see the latest books, but then you go into the back area and it has sci-fi, fiction. Thankfully it's all alphabetized, but they just have miles upon miles of books to explore, and it is stunning. Are you feeling overwhelmed yet? But just you wait, there's still that 3rd floor to go. This is downstairs in the basement, and this is their vintage and antique books area. I highly recommend going for a visit. I found some amazing gems down here. Books from dating back from the 60s, 70s, or even earlier, and it's just amazing to see the different editions that they have available, and just the sheer number of books once again boggles your mind, and also the quality is ridiculously good. There's some vintage children's classic that I highly recommend. I got a wonderful edition of Tanglewood Tales by Nathaniel Hawthorne. But once again, you have to look hard because this is vintage antique books. If you go in without having at least a few book titles on your list, you might feel overwhelmed. So this is not the exhaustive list of all the bookstores you can find in Victoria, but let's head on a road trip and let's head up island into the wilds of Vancouver Island and explore some beautiful bookstores further afield. So north of Victoria is a little town called Ladysmith. Now I highly recommend going there for the bakery, which sells these amazing cinnamon rolls. I had a ginger blackberry and it was so good. It was a ginger blackberry cinnamon roll and it was stunning. Highly recommend. But of course they do other very interesting and delicious flavors as well. But we also stopped by Salamander Books, which is a small little new and used bookstore, but it was just so great to get this amazing community feel. There were so many people in there. They had local art being represented in the store itself, and they just had this great community flavor within the store. So after exploring the beautiful trails in the Pacific Rim National Park, we finally made it to the town of Tofino, which is touristy but also very laid back and chill, and has this amazing little bookstore called Mermaid Tales Bookshop. I actually saw it recommended on Instagram and I knew I had to go. It has these amazing selection of books that are not only well curated by the owners but also well recommended. I found so many titles that I've been wanting to read for a while and I just was inspired to pick them up. Of course, in the kids area there is a little bit of a toy section, but it just is such a wonderful, just gentle little bookstore that fills the space that needed within the community so well. So after a beautiful stop in Tofino, we headed next to Campbell River, and unfortunately we got there when all the stores were closed, so we didn't get to check out the local bookshops, but the next day we did get to check out Elk Falls. So on our way back to Victoria, we actually stopped in Nanaimo, which you may probably know from the Nanaimo dessert bar. But I found this absolutely beautiful little bookstore called Window Seat Books. It is a bit of a blend between new fiction, used books, and they really heavily curate their section because it's such a tiny little store. But I really loved going in there and chatting to the owner. She was really a fascinating person, gave me some great recommendations. As you can see here, this is all their new books, and they had a really good, interesting section of local authors, Nanaimo authors in particular, local BC authors, and then Canadian fiction as well. So if you're in the market for some really fantastically recommended local fiction, just check out the local bookstores because there's so many people who are interested in representing where they are situated and set up through the magic of words. So thank you for watching my book lover's guide to Vancouver Island. I know this was a rather short list of bookstores that I visited, but there are so many amazing things to see, experience, and discover when you're on Vancouver Island, especially the wildlife and ecosystems that are on and surround the island itself. So if you ever get there, I hope you have a wonderful time exploring.